Parents treated very badly, and I cut them off. Now they want a new beginning. Oh, here's the deal. I've got a twin sister, and you wouldn't believe how different we are. It's like someone decided to do an experiment and see what happens when you make twins as unalike as possible. My sister? She's basically like a model straight out of a magazine. Tall, stunning, and has this natural charm that makes everyone want to be her friend. She's got this look that makes people do a double take. And then there's me. I'm not hitting those model vibes. I'm shorter, standing at just 5 feet 1 inch, while she's reaching up to 5 feet 8. And while she's out there being Miss Popular, I've always been more in the background, not really mingling much. But here's something interesting about me. I found out 2 years ago that I'm on the autism spectrum. This was a huge moment because it explained so much about why I see the world in my unique way and why social stuff has always been a bit trickier for me. But get this, my parents didn't really get into the whole understanding and supporting me in this part of my life. It's not the only reason, but it's part of why I'd say they haven't been the greatest parents. So, because they've treated me pretty badly, I made a tough call and decided to cut them off. I just couldn't keep dealing with how they were treating me. But now, plot twist. After all this time and everything that's happened, they want to hit the reset button and start all over with me. It's like they want to be back in my life and pretend we can just kick things off on a new foot. So, here's the harsh reality of how things went down in my family, which really sets the stage for why things are the way they are now. From the get-go, my parents played favorites like pros, and unfortunately, I wasn't the one they were betting on. It's like we were in some twisted family competition, and I lost before it even started. Picture this. For every 20 snapshots capturing my sister's childhood moments, there are maybe 2 or 3 of me. Yeah, you heard that right. The photo album is basically the life and times of my sister, featuring a cameo by me. This wasn't just about pictures, though. It was like everything in our lives was skewed in her favor. When it came to attention, it was all eyes on her all the time. And me? I might as well have been invisible. This even played out in how money was spent on us. Imagine this. There's $100 to be split between us for clothes. She'd get a cool $1.80, and I'd be left with the change, a measly $1.20. And their logic? It was brutally straightforward. She's the belle of the ball, deserving of the royal treatment, while I was the one nobody bothered to look at. So why waste the investment? They weren't shy about making their reasoning crystal clear either. It's one thing to suspect you're the underdog. It's another to have it spelled out by your own parents. And if you think this favoritism stopped at clothes, think again. I was on a sports team, giving it my all. But did they ever show up to cheer me on? Not once. Meanwhile, my sister's cheerleading events were like the social highlight of their week, every week. This kind of treatment wasn't just a one-off, it was the theme of my entire childhood. And it stung deeply. It got to the point where I couldn't stand being around my sister. Not really her fault, but she was the star in a show where I didn't even feel like I had a part. Looking back, it's no wonder I grew up feeling the way I did, both towards them and my sister. It's like living in a world where you're constantly reminded you're just an extra, not the main character. And that, my friends, is a brief tour through the museum of my childhood, where the exhibits were all about how not to treat your kids. So, even though my story sounds like a classic case of sibling rivalry gone wrong, the twist is, I realized it wasn't my sister's fault. With the help of a therapist, I started to see things differently. I stopped holding on to the anger and blame towards her. Honestly, it was a game changer. Since I was 15, I was on a countdown, marking off days on the calendar until I hit 18. That magical age when you can make your own choices without needing a thumbs up from your folks. And boy, did I make a choice. The day after I turned 18, literally the first chance I got, I was out of there. The night before I left, my parents threw a birthday bash. Well, it felt more like it was all for her, not really for us. The grand finale? She got a gift card worth $1,000 from some fancy designer place. Me? I got a $100 gift card for a bookstore. Their reasoning? That $100 was supposedly just as valuable to me for buying books as that $1,000 was for her to splurge on designer gear. I mean, I get their point on the surface, but it just hammered home how differently they saw us and valued our interests. They kind of knew I had one foot out the door, but they didn't grasp just how much I was itching to leave for good. When I finally made my exit, they tried to persuade me to stick around, help out, and stay in the fold. But I was done. Done with feeling second best, done with the comparisons, and just done with all the drama. I told them as much, cut ties, and didn't look back. Moving to another city wasn't just about putting physical distance between me and my parents. It was about shedding the skin of my old life, including the city that felt too small and too filled with memories I'd rather forget. It was my chance to start fresh, to build a life where I wasn't constantly overshadowed or underestimated. And let me tell you, it felt like finally taking a deep breath after years of holding it in. After I left, my parents tried to reach out a few times through calls and texts, but I never picked up or texted back. Eventually, I switched my number and cut off all possible digital paths they could use to sneak back into my life. Social media, emails, you name it. I made sure they hit a dead end trying to reach me. It was like I created a digital fortress around myself to keep their attempts at communication out. That was my life until 2 days ago. Out of the blue, a message from my dad pops up on Facebook. My gut reaction was to hit delete faster than you can say nope, but something stopped me. I found myself opening the message, curiosity getting the better of me. It had been months since I'd heard anything from them, and here was this message, sitting in my inbox, waiting. My dad's words hit differently this time. He admitted that they hadn't been good parents, acknowledging the pain and mistakes of the past. And then came the ask. Could we possibly start over? He was proposing a dinner, a chance for all of us to meet again, not as the people we were, but as the people we've become. Now, I'm stuck. That message is burning a hole in my inbox and my mind. Do I take the leap and give them another chance? Or do I protect the peace I've fought so hard to find by keeping them at arm's length? It's a crossroads moment, and choosing the path feels as heavy as deciding my own future. Do I delete the message, closing the door on what could be just another round of disappointment? Or do I consider the possibility that people can change? And maybe, just maybe, there's a sliver of hope for something better. It's a decision that's weighing on me, and I'm torn between the safety of the familiar silence and the uncertain promise of reconciliation. Now for the comments before reading the update. What do you want? Do you long for a repaired relationship with them, or are you happier with them out of your life? You might explore your options with a therapist. Remember, if you aren't ready now, you can always respond with a maybe later. I'll be in touch. I wanted a good relationship with them for many, many years. When I was growing up, every night I prayed for them to become nicer to me and like me for who I am. But that was 3 years ago, and my world is much bigger now, and thinking of talking to my therapist about this. Remember, there's a difference between wanting a good relationship with your current parents and just longing for good parents, which they might not be capable of being in general. You're always naturally going to want parents who care for you in your life, but maybe they're never going to be able to give that to you. $100 says that you're not in the door 30 minutes before they let you know what it is that they need from you. Money and Oregon absolution without penance for their behavior. They're not inviting you over for you, they're inviting you over for them. I'm a mean and spiteful person, so I'd probably go and then laugh in their faces, laugh long and hard, before telling them that they deserve everything they get. And then I'd walk away forever. It is not possible to start over or have a new beginning. You bore the brunt of obvious disfavor for your entire childhood, and you're an adult now. You cannot go back and have another childhood, you only get one. And it was full of jealousy and pain because of the way that your parents treated you. You could have grown up with a sister that you loved, a companion for life, but because of the way that your parents treated the both of you, you're estranged from her as well. What they can do is apologize to you properly. I think it would probably feel good for you to hear that, but I think it's too risky going over for dinner, not knowing if they're going to apologize or how completely this message came from your dad. Maybe he is recognizing they did some things wrong, but as your mom recognized that you don't know, you could show up and could spend 2/3 of the time bragging about your sister, and you can find out yet another example of her being favored over you. So I would say no. Say that you are willing to hear an apology, but that you aren't willing to just come over for dinner and pretend that you don't have problems. Now for the update. Update. Thanks for your comments and suggestions there. They were super helpful and helped me see things a lot more clearly. Love you all. This is a big, big update and something quite shocking. I've got to go back to my therapist before I get into it. A lot of you asked about my relationship with my sister. Well, there's no relationship, really. I spent all of my childhood hating her and never really had a nice relationship with her. She was not like my parents, but they had spoiled the hell out of her. And she sort of always saw self as the better one of the two of us. Not a surprise there. And right now, I don't even blame her for that. On the day that I was leaving, I gave her a hug and told her that maybe if we had different parents, we could have really been sisters. But it's not how it turned out in this life. But maybe we can make up for it later ourselves. I told her that if she wants to talk to me about this, she can call me and we can meet up. She never called me as it appeared from the last post and went to talk to my therapist about this, and she suggested that I can initiate some conversation and see how it goes. Based on her assessment, she was happy if I wanted to go and see them. I just need to understand that there's no obligation to go or stay. Good, I replied to my father's message with this. Hi, Dad. for us to ever have a chance of seriously starting over. You owe me an answer. Why? I expect an honest answer. No. Why or what? No. Come on, let's talk in person or anything of that sort. Just give it to me straight. Believe me, I can handle reading it if you could handle doing it. If you're not willing to give me that, then I'm not willing to start over. He came back to me the next day with a long message explaining why. Let's get right to it. He told me that him and my mom wanted a child and only one child, as they didn't have the resources and energy of having more than one. They realized that we were twins that screwed up everything and actually made them sad rather than happy. They decided to give one of us up for adoption. They looked around and even found a couple, in case you wondered. I was the one that they decided to give away because I was smaller in my eyes. Weren't blue. Yeah, that's how you decide which one of your kids you keep. They arranged everything. Even took me to them. But that couple bailed out before signing the papers. When they saw me and my sister, their conscience couldn't handle separating twin sisters like this. After this, they looked for some couples and nobody seemed willing to adopt one of twin sisters. They entertained the idea of putting me into foster care, but they couldn't live with themselves if they did. I think that says a lot. Stranger couples who so badly wanted to adopt a child couldn't be heartless enough to separate twin sisters, but their parents wanted to do it. It's beyond me. So they had to raise me themselves and they didn't enjoy it at all. In their minds, the fact that they didn't put me into foster care was a favor in itself more than what I apparently deserved, and that's why they never cared to do more for me. Their full time and resources belonged to my sister and the small part of it that got to me. They saw it as me taking what my sister's away. That's how they saw me. No wonder my childhood turned out the way it did. You said that deep inside they always knew what they were doing was wrong, but they can never step up and do the right thing during this 18-year period. Why not? They thought that changing the dynamic would negatively affect my sister, as she's now used to being offered more time and resources. And I'm not used to getting it. So making it more equal would be a luxury for me and a pain for her. Too far. That's not fair for my sister to be in a pain for the sake of my luxury. Again, their logic. I don't even know what to say to that. Ever since I left, my mom and dad are having trouble. My sister is off to college and they're alone now, with all the time in the world to think about what they did. They've been to marriage counseling, and according to him, that has helped them see everything clearly now and see how cruel that they were to me. He says that they want to start over and make up for all of it if I'm prepared to allow them. This is quite shocking for me. This explains a lot about why my childhood turned out the way that it did. I'm going to be honest. I wish that they had given me away for adoption. I really, really do. I could have been with adoptive parents who really wanted me rather than my biological parents who never did. I still don't believe that they have changed, though. This can be the result of my sister, their golden child being away and not spending as much time with them and them trying to replace her with me. I don't want to do that at all, but I don't know. I've got to talk to my therapist. Please give me your opinions again. You guys were so useful to me last time. Your help means a lot. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for thinking there's a hidden affair between my husband and best friend? I, a 31 female, have a deep suspicion that there is something weird going on between my husband, 33 male, and my best friend Maria, 30 female. My husband feels that I'm just seeing things and is mad at me that I do not trust him enough. Please tell me if what is going on is just in my head, or if you find also that this situation from last weekend is suspicious. Maria and I have been best friends since college. She has always been very outgoing, while I am more of an introvert. Maria was always a bit promiscuous and loved drama. She had a lot of boyfriends and hookups in college. She's also very beautiful, and I always felt invisible whenever I was around her. I have weight issues. I always felt overshadowed by her. I was always very shy. My husband was the first person I ever dated. Maria always teased me that I had only been with one guy in my life. As we have grown older, Maria is still to be in a real long-term relationship. I feel that things have reversed now, and she keeps on telling me how lucky I am to have such an ambitious and reliable husband by my side. Around 6 months ago, my husband came to me and told me that he felt Maria was trying to flirt with him. He does not like Maria, but tolerates her for me. During one of the dinner parties, Maria was acting very flirty around my husband. She was just laughing extra loudly at all of his jokes, complimenting his fitness, and touching him on the shoulders and arms. My husband told me that he felt uncomfortable with her behavior and asked me to talk to Maria. I was pissed off and talked to her. She got angry at me and said that she had known my husband for over a decade. He is like a brother to her. She felt my husband was trying to destroy our friendship because he did not like her. I felt she was genuine and let it go. Maria soon joined her gym because she wanted to take yoga classes with me. However, she spent more time in the weight room with my husband. Again, my husband made comments about how she is always half naked in the gym, and asked him to spot her. Maria complained that my husband is being rude and unhelpful to her. I again took her side and told my husband to be helpful and nice to her as she is my best friend. My husband said he would make more of an effort. I slowly started seeing them getting more and more friendly and working out together. I wanted to be cool, but I felt jealous. So now to what happened last weekend. Maria invited a bunch of her friends for a birthday party at her apartment. There were 7 guests there, including my husband and I. Maria kept on pushing tequila shots on all of us. Eventually, most of us got drunk. Maria was sitting next to my husband, who was being very flirty with him, but I could see that my husband was not reciprocating, so didn't care. Maria insisted we stay back at her place, and my husband and I slept in the guest bedroom. The other 3 guests who were with her coworkers, 1 guy and 2 girls, crashed on the surface in the living room. I was drunk, and the last thing that I remember was my husband bringing me to the guest room. When I woke up in the middle of the night, I was alone in bed. I could hear some moaning noises from outside and quickly started looking for my phone in the dark. In that process, I dropped something from the nightstand on the floor. The noises stopped, and I heard a door open and close outside. I quickly got up to see where my husband was. When I reached the hallway, a sign, my husband just in his jeans with no shirt on. I asked him where he was, and he said he went to the restroom and asked if I was okay. I said yes, and he came and slept next to me. He was sweaty. I asked him where his shirt was, and he said the heater was too high and he felt hard. His t-shirt was on the chair next to the bed. I lay down, but I was barely able to sleep after that. I got up early and went into Maria's room, and she was sleeping alone, naked. I told her we were taking off, and she got up to see us off. I kept this all to myself, and when we reached home and my husband went to go take a shower, I immediately checked his phone. I could not find any messages between him and Maria. I spent the whole day thinking about it and finally confronted my husband regarding it at night. He was pretty angry at me and told me that he hates Maria, and the only reason he tolerates her is because of me. I told him about the moaning noises, and he said he also heard the same when he went to the restroom, but thought that they were coming from the living room. He is still angry at me that I can accuse him of something so horrible, and has told me that if I'm really that insecure, I should cut off my friendship with Maria. He also told me that he was never going to be in the same room as Maria ever again. I have no idea what to do. On the one hand, I know my husband would never cheat on me, but it's just impossible to get the doubts out of my head. I keep on picturing my husband and Maria together in her bed, in my hall, to confront my husband and accuse him of cheating just because of what I saw and not having any real proof. How do I know what happened? If I can trap Maria and accuse her? She is also going to be equally mad at me. I don't know her coworker friends well enough to trust what they say. I just feel stupid for trying to push for friendship between my husband and Maria. Please help. Now for the comments before the update. Most of the comments I've read have gone in on Maria and discussed how she's not your friend. I agree, but I want to talk to you about the fact that you really need to be a better partner to your husband. He has expressed discomfort many times to you. You have flatly ignored his feelings and brushed them aside. You have even encouraged him to be close to someone who he doesn't even like. Stop it, Opie. This is wrong. If someone was constantly flirting with and harassing you, how would you like it? If your love and partner told you to get over it and play nice, I respect your husband's decision to never go around. Maria again. You said I will never be in the same room as her again. Let that be the law of the land. It's not your place to try to force him to be around her. Then get mad when you can tell the vibes are off, which he's explicitly told you over and over. Do you better hope her husband has never seen her again? And I don't know why you would want to either. Some friends don't stay in your life forever. This is done. Move on from her and try to save your marriage. Agreed. Opie is the a-hole here, in my opinion, because she treats her husband like trash in comparison to how she treats her friend. If my SO disrespected me like that, I would be reconsidering the relationship before this party incident ever happened. Cut this. Check out and commit to your husband, OP, or don't be surprised when he leaves you for someone who listens to him. Now for the updates. Update 1. A lot happened during the last month, and my mental health is at its lowest due to the betrayals. However, I think I now know what happened that night. I am sorry for the long post. So the day after my husband and I stayed at Maria's house for her birthday party, I was unable to shake the feeling that something happened between them. I am not proud, but I checked my husband's phone and all his messaging apps. I only found a brief chat between my husband and Maria on Facebook Messenger. Maria, thank my husband for coming to her birthday party and for such a great night. She sent him a photo of him hugging at the end of the night after I was asleep. My husband told Maria that I suspected that something happened between them and asked her to talk to me. Maria told him that she would talk to me. She called me the next day and told me that I was crazy and she would never think of doing such a thing to me. She sounded convincing, but I just couldn't shake the gut feeling that something happened. I told her why I suspected them, and she called me crazy and that my head was making stuff up that did not exist. I also mentioned that I saw a photo with my husband after I was asleep, and she should have kept her distance from him. I decided to distance myself from her as I no longer trusted her as a friend. We also changed the times. We went to the gym so that we don't run into her. After a week or so, she messaged my husband on Facebook Messenger that they should tell me the whole truth. My husband kept on asking her what she was talking about, but she kept on telling him that she felt guilty. My husband came to me and told me that Maria is sending messages to him, and he is not sure what she is inferring. He kept on assuring me that nothing happened between them that night. I told him that I read their secret chats on Facebook Messenger. He gaslighted me, calling me insecure, and that Maria was trying to play with my head. I finally decided to go to Maria's house and ask her what was going on. She initially kept on saying that she did not want to talk about it. However, finally she broke down and told me what happened. She told me that during the night of the birthday party, my husband kept on staring at her after they realized I was too drunk. He took me to the bedroom and again went back to the living room. At this point, he was sitting next to Maria and kept on touching her legs playfully. Maria was also very drunk, and they decided to call it a night in 30 minutes. Maria said that her husband followed her to her room and he started undressing her and they were intimate together. She told me that she was too drunk to consent to anything and felt like he sexually assaulted her. She kept quiet to keep the peace, but it was begging her from the inside. I asked her if she was sure she was too drunk that night, and she said that although she was drunk, she remembers all the details. I confronted my husband, but he still kept on telling me that what he was telling was the truth. And Maria never liked him and was playing me for a fool. He was so angry at me that he left the house and is currently living in a hotel nearby. He keeps on calling me and asking me to trust him, but I don't know how I can trust him now. I never expected him to do such a thing. Maria has also been trying to talk to me and asking me to be there to support her. However, I do not know if I can look at either one of them. I'm just going to try and cope with the situation and plan to go and live with my parents for a few days until my husband and I can agree about her future. I know you all thought I was crazy in the previous post, but I knew in my gut that something was wrong and never expected my life to suddenly come to this point. Update 2. I initially did not know who to believe and thought my friend was telling the truth. My husband was upset that I did not trust him and left the house to stay at a hotel. After posting the update, I read the comments until 4 a.m. and cried uncontrollably. I let my insecurities and crazy trust Maria when it was clear that my husband was telling the truth. Sorry for the long post. You helped me so much and might have saved my life for the few people who did me vile messages. I am mentally unstable, but that does not mean that I need to end my life. I was not always insecure when I met my husband a decade ago. We were both overweight. He never cared about my weight as long as I was happy. A year before we married, I had an idea where we lose weight before our wedding date. He took his fitness seriously and lost pound 40 that year, while I was not disciplined and did not lose any. Our wedding photo looks like Ryan Reynolds is marrying Princess Fiona from Shrek. This made me insecure about my weight. It did not help that my mom and Maria kept on telling me that I needed to lose weight or else he would leave me for someone more beautiful. The question in my mind was not if he would leave me, but when he knows my struggles and has always been supportive and loving towards me and went to meet him in the morning, and I have never seen him so broken. I started apologizing and crying, and he was trying to calm me down for almost an hour. I told him I trusted him completely and apologized that I did not see it sooner. He just looked stone-faced. He said he knew that I would trust him eventually, but he was worried about Maria. He kept checking his social media because he was scared she might post about it. He said he could not imagine what his parents, friends, and coworkers would think if they saw the accusations. He told me that we need to talk to Maria to not spread such lies. I told him in detail what Maria told me, and he told me what happened that night. He said that I fell asleep on his lap around 130. He woke me up and took me to the bedroom. He came out to say goodbye to everyone, but the party was already dying. My husband was not drunk. He generally never drinks more than 1 to 2 drinks ever, but Maria and her friends were drunk. Maria wanted to take some final pictures and went to everyone and made silly poses. That was the photo she sent to my husband. She asked my husband if he could come with her to the bedroom to get some blankets and pillows for others. My husband told her he needed to check on me, and the other male coworker volunteered to go with her and get the staff. My husband then came to the rim and slept. He woke up 2 hours later and went to the restroom. He confirmed that he heard the moaning noises, but they stopped when he came out of the restroom. We decided to talk to Maria, and I invited her to our house on Saturday evening. She was shocked to see my husband with me in the house. My husband told her that she knew what she was saying was wrong, and he still had the messages where she thanked him the next day. Maria got defensive and started telling me that she blacked out that night, but started slowly to put together what happened that night since she was naked. When she woke up, she asked me why she would sleep naked without locking the room door when her coworkers were in the next room. She said that she remembers my husband coming to her room and having sex with her while she was extremely drunk. My husband told Maria that none of this happened, and she kept on insisting that she clearly remembered him naked and having sex with her. He told her, if that was true, tell me how big his penis was. She was taken aback and shouted to him. Just because it was huge does not mean that I enjoyed the sex and that she was extremely drunk. Asked Maria if she was sure, and she said that she would never forget it. The thing is, my husband is noticeably smaller than average in that area. I'm not complaining as he has always gotten the job done, but I knew that Maria was full of crap. A screaming match began between Maria and me, and I told her that she was full of crap and to get out of my house. I told her that if she accused my husband, I would stand by him and tell everyone I was in the next room. And none of this happened. Maria was crying at this moment and told me to enjoy my life with a rapist. I hugged my husband, but he still looked void of any emotions. He told me not to freak out, but he planned to visit his parents' house to reset his head before I talked to him. I wanted to be with him, but he insisted he wanted to be alone for a week and will be back on Saturday. He also called my mom to come to our house, so I am not alone. We told her what happened, and she was very angry at me. I've been talking to him all week on the phone, and he plans to return tomorrow. I feel lucky and undeserving of such a good husband and cannot believe I was so close to losing him. I have not heard from Maria, but at this point her friendship is over. Again, thanks to everyone who sent well-meaning messages to me all through the week. I truly appreciate it. I have signed up for therapy this week and hopefully will be able to do and be a better way of to my husband forever.